Why, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Graham. Thank you, Ranking Member Kane. Thank you to all of you for your willingness to serve our nation, and for those of you who have dedicated decades of your lives to careers in foreign service across the continent. As some of you know, I have traveled to 30 countries on the continent. I have visited several of you in posts overseas. I look forward to visiting several of you in posts overseas, and time spent in South Africa and in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania as a young man really shaped my life and gave me deep insights into the promise, the potential, and the challenges that face Africa. I'm particularly concerned with working in a bipartisan and sustained way for us to promote the most positive aspects of the U.S.-Africa relationship, both in public health, in prosperity and security, and in the promotion of democracy and free right and human rights. I'm going to work from the right to the left, if I might, and try and stay within my time, but I may go a minute or two over, Mr. Chairman, if you will forgive me. Ms. Beckering, in USAID, one of the, I think, more significant bills of this Congress will be the work that Chairman Graham is leading, which I'm supporting, on a bipartisan bicameral bill called the Global Fragility Act. This would require a coordinated strategy between our Department of Defense, State Department, and USAID, and it would invest in stabilizing the country's most fragile countries that are most at risk of the destabilizing forces of terrorism, extremism, poverty, desertification, and poor governance. Can I count on your support for this effort? Can you tell me how you would see this effort playing out, and what, if any, questions or concerns you have about an effort that would seek to better coordinate the currently siloed efforts of DoD, state, and AID in this area?
Well, first of all, thank you for your support on that issue, and to Senator Graham as well. You know, it's a matter of fact that a majority of the countries right now where USAID has programming are conflict affected. And so this is really not only restricting our development, or the success of our development goals, but in many cases it's reversing it. So for us, it's necessary that we work with the interagency, civil society, because there's roles for all of us to play in here. Increasingly, since that nexus between development assistance, conflict, and humanitarian assistance is becoming blurred. For us, yes, we would support the bill. I think, you know, we would say that we just would want to continue to have the flexibility needed to adjust, since the situations on the ground do change so rapidly.
And how can we ensure that the new Development Finance Corporation, that's the outcome of the BUILD Act, actually gets stood up by October 1st and is as effective as it can possibly be? You will play a significant role, because this is $60 billion worth of new potential private sector investment in doing development and infrastructure right.
And again, we want to thank Congress. This is another, the Senate, this is another great example of bipartisan support for a bill. So we are on track to sign up the new DFC by October 1st. There's still more work to be done. Since the passage of the bill, we have worked very closely with our colleagues in OPIC on the operational aspects of setting up the new DFC, as well as working in the interagency through a policy process, which is being led by the NSC and OMB. Our chief concern is that the DFC remain what it is in name, which is a development corporation. And so we are working very hard to make sure that we ensure linkages, to make sure that development remains the first goal. This also dovetails really nicely, as you know, in December, we launched our new private sector engagement strategy at USAID. So these two things timed together are very significant for us as an agency as we carry out our work. And frankly, recognizes that 90% of the resource flows around the world are now not from the public sector. And so we need to better be working with the private sector in co-designing and co-financing our initiatives, and better asking them up front what their interests are, and better understanding of where we as a government come in and what specific role we have to play.
Thank you. Ms. Marks, if I might, you're nominated for literally one of the best jobs in the world, which is U.S. Ambassador to South Africa, and I hope you appreciate, as I believe you do from your testimony, the long and deep and significant ties between the United States and South Africa, and the ways in which we can and should grow together as we seek to address both the legacy of apartheid and the potential of a country with a remarkable constitution, a multilingual, multi-ethnic, multi-faith nation endowed with tremendous human resources and natural resources. During the reauthorization of AGOA, I worked closely with my friend and colleague, Senator Isaacson, to eliminate long-standing barriers to the export of U.S. poultry to the South African market. Today, poultry producers in my home state of Delaware, as well as many other states, are now benefiting from a quota of U.S. poultry into South Africa that are excluded from an anti-dumping tariff. And South Africa is now one of the top 10 export markets for U.S. poultry. But there are some recent tensions, understandable discomfort or unhappiness on the part of South Africans with the steel and aluminum tariffs that were applied by the administration, as well as pressure from domestic partners in South Africa, producers. How will you work to sustain this critical market opportunity? I heard your passion for keeping markets open. How will you focus on this one in particular? And what would be your broader priorities for the U.S.-South Africa relationship economically?
Senator Coons, thank you for this very important question. I followed your trip recently when you went to the South African Constitution, by the way. It is
the Constitutional Court.
The Constitutional Court, yes.
Wonderful visit.
Yes. I have been following the poultry exports and your interest and Senator Isaacson. And if confirmed, I will ensure South Africa continues to fulfill this very important quota. And if there are any problems or any rumblings, I will immediately address those if confirmed. And I'd very much appreciate if I could engage with you going forward and Senator Isaacson on this matter, and if possible, even come and visit in Delaware to have an even greater understanding of this, if confirmed. In terms of the greater trade, I think we have to, if confirmed, look at all the Prosper Africa, all the different tools that we have within the mission, within South Africa, with the United States, and with South Africa. And if I'm confirmed on the ground, look at all of these tools and see where we can dramatically increase trade and all the different areas, whether it's advanced manufacturing, whether it's energy, whether it's services, whether it's a communication technology, all these areas that we in the United States are interested in increasing our trade with South Africa. If confirmed, I would look at that very carefully.
Thank you. I think there are huge opportunities for us to strengthen South Africa's economy, its potential, both for historically disadvantaged populations and for those who have long experience in agriculture and in other sectors. And I think it's a tremendous export opportunity for the entire American economy. So I look forward to working with you on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sheehan.